Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. So in this video, we're just looking at NQ and just seeing what we can learn. I always say, what can we learn from the market or just for charting purposes? So let me first give my disclaimer, y'all. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. If you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, y'all, because we learn and we grow together. With that being said, let's get started. So we again are looking at NQ, and NQ, NASDAQ 100 or NAS 100, however you want to say it, y'all. We're just again looking at the chart, seeing what we can learn, right? So I'm looking at the 5-minute chart, and y'all know I like to look at the 30-minute chart. Why? Because it tells me a story that I like to read. But what I see on the 30-minute chart, I kind of want to see the same thing on my 5-minute chart, because when there's a difference between my 35 and 2, then there's something, there's something wrong. So I don't enter the trade until I have clarity as to, how it's moving, right? But this candle here is a hammer, and I got so confused at the beginning of trading with trying to remember all of the different candles. And again, I am a visual learner. That's very, very important when you're learning to trade, because you need to know, how to understand the market. Let's say that. So with that being said, this green candle here, it's a reversal signal. It is a hammer candle. It tells me that we were going to the downside, and now we are probably going to go back and reverse back to the opposite direction, right? So if this candle here was at the top of the move, it will have a different name, but it will have the same exact, reversal. It means a reversal candle, this candle here. And I'm going to see if I can do this, y'all, without making it too difficult, because y'all, okay, so this candle is giving us a signal that we are going to possibly reverse, and if not now, very soon. So we definitely need to watch that, and that's exactly what it did. But what's interesting is it came down to a level here that I had marked, and it made that reversal. So that's called support. It came down to a support level and reverse back to the upside. So now I have two confirmations that we could possibly, if I was to not even see this portion here yet, we have two confirmations that we could possibly move in the opposite direction after coming off of this move here. This is a downside move. It is moving back to the upside again. I had a level here marked. It bounced off of support. It gave me a signal with this candle here. And y'all, guess what? I like to use the MACD, because when those lines cross, it tells me a signal. And as you can see, we cross in this area here, and we start separating up, in this area here, around here. So that's a confirmation for me, the crossing of a MACD. I have a hammer candle, which is the visual, looks like a hammer, right? I can remember that. And it is bouncing off of support. And for those that don't know, support is what stops it from going down. Resistance is here, up here, what stopped it from moving forward, what caused it to not go higher in this area here. So in this instance, regardless of if I was buying shares or if I was buying options, the candles, the charts, all of it mean the same. It's just the type of technique or strategy that you use to make your money. Let's say that. So again, this candle came down. It came down here. She gave me a signal. Well, another thing that kind of like helps me in my decision making is if I were to draw a line. Do you see where? I'm going to see if I can make a price line just to show you. And I'm going to remove that, because it kind of like gave us a double bottom. And that was one of the things I also struggled with, is trying to remember what that double bottom mean. Did it have to be at the exact same location, or the exact same time or amount? Or those are things that I needed to, do some research on. And what I have discovered is I look at the body of the candle. The body of the candle here, the body of the candle here is kind of in the same area. So now I have three or four confirmations, right? We have this green hammer here. It is green. Green means, good, go. And the red could possibly means it's time to stop or be careful, right? So that's how it's how I see the market, right? So again, okay, this green candle here is one of my signals. The MACD separation is another signal for me, and then it's bouncing off of a support area. That's a third signal for me, and then it's giving me a double bottom here based on the body of the candle. So I now have 4 signals as to it's okay to enter this trade back to the opposite side. However, I would not enter, just right off of that at this point, especially if I'm just seeing this candle, because, I could very well get rejected on this candle here because something stopped us here before. So I can get rejected in this area and come back to the downside. So I wouldn't just jump into the trade just right then. And y'all, that's so often how, we can find one thing and it looks like, oh, I'm going to just jump back in the trade. Well, guess what? We could very well, when this candle does not tell me how high we're going to go up, it just tells me that it's a signal of reversal. It doesn't say we can ready to make this strong move right here. That's why we have to make sure that we have confirmation as to why we're entering the trade, right? So this candle here, again, it gave me a signal of reversal. I did have other confirmations. However, I like to see it make at least three higher highs. That means this candle, high of this candle is higher than the high of this candle here is higher than this candle. The high of this candle here is higher than this candle. And I may have said that in reverse order. Y'all please forgive me. This is a high, this is higher than that, and this is higher than that. That's how it should be, right? So, and then I would definitely feel okay with entering this to the upside. Now, could I have entered here and taken a chance? Absolutely, because I did have other confirmations. But again, I like to see the 3 higher highs. That's just something in my mind. I have to see it in order for me to enter that trade. Now, once we made the 3 higher highs, that means from this candle to this candle to this candle. I got it right this time, right? So from this candle, and this candle, we are making higher highs. And it puts us back at a place. And I'm going to make this line because I want to show this for visual purposes, right? It kind of puts us back at this place. So if I would have entered the trade here and by chance it came back to this area here, it would not have worked. I needed to get out of that trade if I entered, right? I need to be out. Why? Because it has gone against my why. My reason for getting in is because of this hammer, this 3 higher highs. This higher high was one of my decisions. That's why I got into the trade. So if it starts coming down under that, I need to be careful because that could have been a false breakout, a false move. And I very much need to pay very close attention to that. So what it did was move sideways. I'm okay with that for, because I had some other confirmations, right? Now, again, I saw that this red line here is a moving average. I saw that it could possibly stop me out, meaning, get rejected. And as you can see, that's why we have the wick there. I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit bigger here. There is a wick here, a stem, or, it is called a wick. It's there. That means price went up to this area only to get rejected and come back down. But guess what? It found support on this line here that we just drew and the 5 EMA, which is the blue line. So the red line was our trouble place, rejection. The blue line was our support place. And I say so often that I look at support and resistance on a smaller scale, because when I'm in the trade, I kind of want to know where my trouble places are. So if this is, a little bit overwhelming, just stop and pause for a moment and just go back and reflect on the double bottom that it gave us, this green hammer candle that it gave us, the 3 higher highs that it gave us. It did go sideways for a little bit. They call it consolidation. It went sideways for a little bit. It tried to break out only to get rejected, but it came back down and found support here on this blue line here, and it did not come back down to this area here, which is a great thing, right? So if I'm in this trade and we got rejected and continued down, again, it went against my why. I need to get out of the trade. I need to be careful with that, right? So that's something to be mindful of. When am I, making sure that you understand that, when I get into the trade, I know when I'm getting out and having the discipline to execute that, because so often, y'all, we get in on a hope, thinking that it's going to hope that it's going to do this or hope that it's going to do that. When your signals are showing you otherwise, get out, pay attention to your charts. What are your charts telling you? That's something to be mindful of. Okay. So it looks like we got rejected here, only to come back down, found support, and y'all, it continued moving to the upside. And what I like to see is my MACD lines to separate, and it's doing that. So now And that was another thing I wanted to point out. Even on this rejection here, even though it went up and it got rejected and came back down and found the support, look what our MACD lines were showing us. My MACD has kept me in a lot of trades because, I had that scalping mentality, which I want to go in real quick, get out real quick. But sometimes that MACD helps me to stay in just a little bit longer, right? Because, again, we went in based on this hammer candle, this green candle here, 3 higher highs. We're still moving up. As you can see, price is still moving to the upside. That means we're making higher highs, lower lows. So you'll hear that. Higher highs, lower lows. We're still going up, right? We got rejected a little only to come back down and find support. So we can expect that, right? Because we knew that that moving average was really close. So what I like to see is to come back, find some type of some type of support and bounce from there. And that's exactly what it did. And my MACD would have kept me in the trade based on that. That's, now if my MACD would have just did that little pivot and come back to the downside, that means there's a sharp move, something strong has happened. I need to be very, very careful. So again, this is moving to the upside. I'm going to stay in the trade. I'm already in the trade at this point. I'm going to stay in the trade. It's going to, and I'm going to use another thing that I like to see is my EMA here. I can use that as a reference, as to, I entered here based on this hammer, 3 higher highs. We're moving up. Well, guess what? We are above this blue line. So if it's above this line, I need to be trading to the upside. If we get under this line, I am on the wrong side of that trade. And let me give you an example of that before I come back to this 5 and 50 crossing here. So as we went, we're moving up here, but do you see how price changed right here? Something changed. You always have to pay very close attention to what changed because it's giving you a signal. And a lot of times, y'all, we ignore the signals. Let's say that, right? So here we are under the 5 EMA, under this blue line. So I should be out of this trade somewhere between this candle, this candle, this candle, and this candle. I should be out of my trade. And let me tell you why. It gave me a signal here, and if you can look there, the MACD changed. There was something in this area. We were going up, as we can see here, but guess what? There's a flattening of that line. That means we're running out of strength. Something is wrong in this area here, so I need to be careful. Well, guess what? We came back down, and now we're making lows. Just like we were making highs going up in this area, guess what? We're making lows now. So I need to I definitely need to be careful, right? And the way that I like to trade, I would have gotten out based on this candle because it looks different to me, right? So all of these candles are green and red, and some of these are strong candles here, not really a lot of wicks on the top. And when you see the wicks, you think of sellers. So on the top, you think of sellers, and when you see the wicks on the bottom, you think of buyers, right? So, I would have been out here, and I always say be grateful and not greedy. Take what the market is going to give you at that time. So we got some signals that we're running out of steam to the upside, and this is that indecision candle that let us know, what, we're getting ready to change. We could possibly, let me rephrase that, we can possibly change direction. That's very important. So coming back to the downside, this candle is, we're making lows. This is lower than where this one stopped. So we're coming down low. We're coming down low. It's like walking down our stairs, right? We're coming down the stairs. Okay, I definitely do not need to be in the upside of this trade. I am at this point giving back profit. And that's where a lot of times, when I was first learning, is I gave back a lot because I didn't know the signals to pay attention to or the things to watch for. And, to me, looking at it from this perspective, it gives me a clearer understanding that, okay, when they're buying, I want to buy, and those green candles are buyers, and when they're selling, I want to sell. That means I want to come out, and we could very well trade it to the downside. So we could have gotten out of your trading options. We could have gotten out of this trade here to the upside and then made it, our downside movement, because we had a reversal indecision candle. I want to say that, and we're making lower lows. Well, look what our MACD did. Y'all know I always say I like that crossing. Our MACD did something right here that gave me a signal. Something changed. Always look for what changed. And I guess because I'm a visual learner, and when I pay attention to patterns and when things change, I want to know what caused that, or what created that, what made that happen. So yeah, so again, we're making lower lows coming down. So we could have now Could we have entered this to the downside? Possibly, if you are a scalper. Let me say that. Why? Because there were some lines here that gave me a signal, and we call those moving averages. Some people use the EMA, some people use the SMA. The only difference in the two is time. And I say that so often, it's whatever works best for you. So we came down, found support on what I have, the VWAP and my 20 EMA. And again, I keep all of my colors consistent regardless of what chart I'm on or time frame I'm on or whatever platform I'm using. Every color means the exact same because consistency works, right? So we have found support here. So that just like we had support on this line down here, we are now at support. Are we going to break this level of support and continue coming to the downside? Our MACD is telling us, you know, it's separated a little bit. So it looks like we're having trouble in this area. This is one of those places of I don't want to trade yet because I don't have a clear signal. My MACD is telling me one thing, but these moving averages are telling me something completely different. So this could be a support place to take us back to the upside, even though I've already identified there's a trouble place right here. There's now a trouble place in this area. I'm going to mark it here. Why? Because price stayed in this area for a reason. So now I have a trouble place here and I have a trouble place here. So even if this is a support, that means something that holds us up. Even if this is a support, we could possibly still have trouble here. So I have to see, it's too many, you know, I don't have a clear confirmation as to it's okay to enter this trade. So I really should not quite be in the downside. If I was going to get in the downside, it would have been for a quick scalp in out, and it wouldn't have been, you know, a really huge profit because it wasn't a really big, well, NASDAQ move a little bit different. It could have been, let me rephrase that, right? So again, are we going to bounce off of this support area and have trouble here, or are we going to break through this and have trouble in this area? That would be the thing that I would need to think about, right? Again, my MACD is telling me one thing, but my up here is telling me something completely different. So I need to be careful. Again, I like everything to say the exact same thing, and it's not saying the same thing. It's like music, y'all. I love music. So it's kind of like music. When everything is in sync, it sounds so much better together. But when it get out of sync, it just tells it sounds a little bit different. So I relate, you know, this to music and putting together and making sure that the sound is the way I like to hear, right? I don't even know where that came from, but yeah, hey, I like to have fun. So again, we're looking at the charts, and I'm going to do a little recap for here. I saw a green hammer here. We had a double bottom here. We had a MACD that crossed and separated. And I tell you these names because these are some of the things that we can go back and do some research on. And that's something that I had to do early. We had 3 higher highs. It still bounced off of a support area. It got, you know, bounced through because that could have, this red line could have stopped us. We bounced through the resistance. Resistance is the ceiling, something that could have hindered us from moving forward. Well, guess what? We have broken through that. So it looks like we got a strong move to the upside, and it clearly showed us that we were moving to the upside. This 5 EMA, we are above that, so it's okay to be to the upside, whether you're in options or shares, right? So we're still moving to the upside, still making higher highs. This 5 and 50 crossing, y'all know, it's another confirmation for me. And as you can see, my MACD is separating. I like to see that. So again, I could have bought down here and rode this wave to the upside here. Although I knew that this ATR trailing stop, we could possibly have trouble. Even though my 5 and 50 was another confirmation, I knew we could possibly have trouble here. And y'all see, we had some sellers right there to take that price back to the downside. Well, guess what? Sellers won, you know, buyers won in this situation because we went back up again and broke through this level here. That's a great thing. I like to see that, right? So we broke through that level. That means we got strong momentum to the upside. So back to the upside here, we have trouble in this area. We have this area of VWAP here. We came down a little bit under that. Keep in mind, y'all, there's always somebody on the opposite end of your trade that wants to keep you distracted. And, you know, so to not see, because we all see the same thing, right? So we had some sellers right in this area. That's why you have that wick here. Price came back down. Well, guess what? Buyers and sellers at this point were trying to make a decision. Who's going to win this battle? Who's going to win this war? And it looks like the buyers were still in control. Why? Because look, price broke through this area, broke through this. Because we came so close to this line before, we have enough strength from the buyers to take it back to the upside. So that's very, very important. We kept going to the upside, moving to the upside, moving to the upside, only to have trouble right at this place, right? So I would, in my charting, I need to remember this area. Why? Because we had trouble there before. Guess what? We could possibly have trouble there again. That's something to be mindful of. So now I'm out of my trade to the upside. Why? Because I've had a great trade from this, down in this area up to this area. Be grateful, not greedy. Again, coming back to the downside, we're having troubles. We are touched under that blue line. Remember, we were going up. We're now under that blue line. This candle is under that blue line. This candle is under that blue line, and we seems like we're declining or walking down our stairs. So I definitely don't need to be on the upside when we're clearly coming to the downside. So as of now, I would not be in a trade because I do not have a clear signal as to what we are doing. As of now, we are finding support on these levels here. We could very well move back to the upside or continue to the downside. Keep in mind, we have trouble. Even if we drop, we have trouble here that could still do the same thing. Take us back to this level here. If we break that, back to this level here. If we break that, back to this level here. So y'all look, this is what I see when I look at the market. And I say so often, there's so many different ways to trade the market, and what's challenging at times is trying to figure out what works best for you and how, we're looking at the market, especially for the new people, that it's just like a different language or just learning something new. But you have to, learning something new, you have to just take it one piece at a time and learn one piece at a time, and then try to piece those pieces together to form your picture, almost like a puzzle. You're putting your piece, your pieces together to form a picture or to form it, and you have to know how to piece it to where it works best for you. I say that so often, y'all, because sometimes when I first started, they were speaking a language I knew nothing about, and I would just go back and visually just look at it, and then I will go back and figure it out how I can see it or how I see it. It has the same meaning, but it's a little bit different in how I see it. So that's very important. So again, y'all, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. Very helpful. I hope that everyone have a very profitable and a very, very productive day. So we have looked at NQ or NAS 100 just to see what we can learn today, and some of the things that I look for when I enter the trade, and some of the things I look for when I am charting, and where I could possibly have trouble, as I always say. So again, I hope that everyone have a great day today. If you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, y'all, because we learn and we grow together. With that being said, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.